Have you ever had one of those days at work where everything just feels off? Like you're trying to solve a puzzle, but you don't have all the pieces. One minute, things seem to be running like a well-oiled machine, and the next, it's just total chaos. Well, if you've ever felt like you're trying to see the matrix in your office, trust me, you are not alone.
I mean, it's a super common feeling, right? You see these decisions being made that make absolutely zero logical sense. You see rules that seem to go against what the company is supposedly trying to do, and you see smart, talented people acting in ways that are just bizarre. It's not just you. This confusion is a real, universal experience. But what if I told you there's a way to actually decode it all?
So here's the thing. The problem isn't usually the organization itself. It's the way we're looking at it. Most of us, and we don't even realize it, are kind of stuck using a single, flawed view. We might see our workplace as only a machine built for efficiency, or maybe only as a big family. But according to the theorist Gareth Morgan, the real power, the real clarity, comes from having a whole toolkit of different perspectives. It's what lets you see the full picture of what's really going on.
And Morgan's big idea to get us there is what he calls the organizational metaphor. Just think of these as different pairs of glasses, or lenses you can put on. Each lens brings certain things into sharp focus, while, pushing other things into the background. And these aren't just clever little descriptions. They are genuinely powerful tools you can use for diagnosis and, more importantly, for action.
Okay, so are you ready to dive in? Here's the plan. We're going to start with the classic blueprints that shape most workplaces. Then, we'll take a look at the organization's inner life, its mind, so to speak. After that, we're going to uncover the hidden game of power that's always being played. And finally, we'll pull it all together to show you how to become a much more flexible and effective thinker.
All right, first up are the two big ones. These are the lenses that really dominate modern management thinking. You might not know them by name, but I guarantee you've worked in places built on these exact blueprints. First, we have the machine. Think of a classic, old-school bureaucracy, or maybe a fast food chain. What's the goal? Pure efficiency. Everything is standardized. Everything is controlled from the top down. And you know what? It's brilliant for stable environments where nothing ever changes. But its big weakness? It adapts to change about as well as a typewriter in the age of the internet. Then on the other hand, you've got the organism. This is your classic tech startup. Here, it is all about survival and adaptation. It's an open system that has to be super innovative and flexible to survive in its environment. The risk here, though? Sometimes the different parts of the organism just don't want to cooperate with each other.
Okay, so let's move beyond just the structure, the hardware, and start looking at the software of an organization. This is where we get into its thoughts, its shared beliefs, and, even the hidden assumptions that can trap everyone inside.
So the brain metaphor sees the organization as this giant information processing system. It has to learn, it has to communicate, and it has to make decisions to stay alive. But here's the real question. Can it truly learn? The big challenge is something called double-loop learning. That's the ability to not just fix your mistakes, but to actually question the underlying rules and assumptions that made you make that mistake in the first place. And this is so difficult for most companies, because their internal systems often punish failure and discourage anyone from questioning the way things are.
Next up, and this one's huge, is culture. Through this lens, a company isn't just a structure, it's like a mini society. It has its own unwritten rules, its own heroes and villains, its own rituals. And the key idea here is that this reality is socially constructed, meaning it's not a given. It's built and held together purely by the shared beliefs of the people inside it.
And Edgar Schein gave us this brilliant way to decode any culture. He said to look at it in 3 levels. At the very top, you have the artifacts. This is all the visible stuff, like the dress code, the office layout, the jargon people use. Below that, you have the espoused values. This is what the company says it believes. Think of the mission statement hanging on the wall. But the deepest, most powerful level, that's the basic assumptions. These are the unconscious, taken-for-granted beliefs that actually drive behavior. This, right here, is the real source code of the culture.
And this quote perfectly captures the dark side of culture, which brings us to another metaphor, the psychic prison. This idea suggests that those very same shared beliefs and assumptions can literally become a cage. Organizations get trapped by their own past successes, and they become completely unable to change, even when the world is changing all around them. The reality they built ends up controlling them.
Okay, let's shift gears to a more critical view. Because if organizations are social systems, then you better believe they're also arenas for power struggles. These next couple of lenses reveal that hidden game of influence and control that is always at play, and honestly, they explain so many of those frustrating moments we've all had at work.
The political lens just shatters that myth that organizations are these purely rational places. Instead, it reframes them as arenas where different people and different teams are constantly competing for resources and influence. From this viewpoint, conflict isn't some weird anomaly. It's the natural, expected result of people having different interests. And this is exactly why the best idea doesn't always win, right? Decisions are often made to push a particular agenda, not necessarily for the good of the whole company.
And when we talk about power here, we're not just talking about who has the fancy title. It is way more complex than that. How complex? Well, Morgan identified at least 15 different sources of power inside an organization. That's right, 15. And that tells you that power flows through all sorts of channels that have nothing to do with the official org chart.
So yeah, power comes in a ton of different flavors. It can be something as simple as controlling who knows what, the gatekeeper of information. It can be the person who knows how to handle a crisis when everyone else is panicking. And one of the most powerful but subtle forms, it's managing meaning. Basically the ability to influence how other people see reality so that it lines up with what you want.
And this leads us to our darkest, most critical lens, domination. This perspective argues that, historically, organizations have often been used as tools for a small elite to impose their will on everybody else. It sees the very structure of many corporations, the hierarchy, the strict division of labor, all the rules, as a system designed for control and, in some cases, for the exploitation of employees, customers, or the environment.
So, machines, organisms, brains, cultures, political arenas. Wow, it's a lot to take in. So which one is right? What's the big takeaway from all of this?
Well, here's the answer. The most effective view is all of them. The real power isn't in finding the one right way to see your company. It's in developing the mental flexibility to switch between these lenses on the fly. You know, is that new efficiency plan a rational machine upgrade, or is it a political move by one department to grab more power? By seeing both possibilities, you suddenly have a much deeper understanding of what's going on. So next time you're in a meeting, try it. Just listen to a proposal and consciously ask yourself, okay, how does this look through the machine lens? What about the culture lens and the political lens? Just asking those questions starts to peel back the hidden layers. And that really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Think about your own workplace. Which one of these lenses do you naturally, maybe even unconsciously, use to make sense of it all? And then more importantly, ask yourself, by being locked into that one single perspective, what critical information, what hidden games, what unseen possibilities are you completely, totally blind to?